ready for rice and marbles. So in your notebook, you have a chart, something similar to this, right? What we need to do before I can pour it in is there's actually something that we have to do here having to do with, not that, the mass. Because after I pour the things in, if I then try to put it on the scale, what's going to happen is I'm going to be measuring the mass, in other words, the weight, of the graduated cylinder and the rice. So I have to do something first. And what I'm doing is I'm turning on the little scale. First, I'm going to take away the weight of the graduated cylinder. So what I do is I put it on, and right now it says 40 grams. So it weighs 40 grams. But if I press a button, there's a button on here that says tare, T-A-R-E. I'm going to press that, and it's like, it goes to 0. It takes away the weight of the container, which is good. So now when I fill this up, and I can take it off for just 1 second and put it back on. Okay, so it still took off the weight of the container. Now what it says is 39.5 grams. And in fact, it started to say something different. Okay, 39.5 grams is the mass, or in other words, the weight of the rice. So on here, rice, mass, we need to write 39.5 grams. So 39.5. And it already says up there in grams. I can label it as well, but it does already say it at the top. Okay, we'll come back to that because we still have other stuff to measure about it. But like I said, we kind of have to do this thing first with the little balance. So I'm going to turn it back off and on to clear it. And we'll do the same thing. So I'm putting this one on. And you know what? This graduated cylinder, it weighs 40.3 grams. So good thing we weren't just assuming that they're both exactly the same, right? Because they're not. So this one weighs 40.3. Now I'm going to press that tare button. So now it's at 0. And here comes the marbles. So marbles going in. Oops, there we go. Marbles, and voila. So the marbles, now just the mass of the marbles, not the container. It's oddly very, very similar to what it was with just the container, but it is 40.5 grams. So marbles, the mass is 40.5. It's kind of funny that they're both very similar. I did not do that on purpose, people. It just sort of came out that way. Okay. All right, but now we have some other things to measure. So we need to know how much volume we have, how much rice, how much marbles is in here to start. Because remember, the point is we're going to be mixing these together. So we want to see what happens when you mix them together. And does it matter, like, the order you mix them, right? So what we're going to plan to do is we're going to be pouring the marbles into the rice in just a moment. But before we do, let's find out the volume of each of them. So I'm just kind of tapping this to make sure it's flat and level in there. And I'm going down at eye level. I'm looking straight across into the graduated cylinder. So that is what you are hopefully able to see as well. Otherwise, I will just tell you I am at 46 milliliters for the rice. So right here, 46 milliliters. That's a 4. Okay, 46 milliliters for the rice. And for the marbles, we've got 47, actually. 47 milliliters. Again, they're very close, aren't they? 47 milliliters. 47 milliliters for that. So before we go on, please continue with this. So write down your description of what does the rice look like in there. You could talk about how the grains are all, I don't know, next to each other and stuff and whatever you want to say. And same thing about the marbles. How could you describe what they look like? Yes, there are a couple that are different color, but is that all that important? I don't know. Maybe. You could write it down. So there we go. All right. Now we need to do this step. So what's about to happen is that I'm going to pour the marbles into the rice. But before that happens, let's think this through. If the marbles are being poured into the rice, how much volume do you expect there to be combined? You decide. Think it through. The marbles are going into the rice. So how much volume is that going to be? How much space is all of that going to take up together? So same thing with the mass, right? So when we add the two together, what's your prediction of if this mass plus this mass is now mixed together in the one graduated cylinder, how much do you think that is going to be worth? So let's find out. So here are the marbles being poured into the rice. There we go. So now if I look at the top, very highest marble there, I am at 88, 89 actually. It is at 89 milliliters for both of them measured together. Okay, but now we need to see about the mass of all of this. Now, there is one tiny little issue, is that both of these are mixed together in here, so I can't do the tare thing, but hang on, we still have a plan, because we can do it right after. So the combined mass of the rice plus the marbles and this graduated cylinder is exactly, precisely, even when I move it and look at it again, it's 120.0 grams. So remember where we're about to write that though. It's going to go down here. So you were supposed to do this, right? You did your prediction. So you wrote something there, you wrote something there. Okay, and now what we're writing is for down here. But wait, it's not actually 120 for everything, right? What it is that it's 120 with the graduated cylinder. So I'm just going to make a note of that, 120 in parentheses. And then in just a minute, we'll figure out how much this graduated cylinder was. Do you remember? I don't remember. Is it the one that was 40 or the one that was a little over 40? I don't know. We'll weigh it again in just 1 second. But before then, we do need to make sure that we recorded that volume. Remember, the volume was 89 milliliters. Intriguing. And we do want to fill out this, the description of what it looks like in the graduate cylinder. So that's what it looks like altogether in the graduate cylinder. And if I turn it, alrighty. So now let's figure out how much this graduated cylinder empty weighs. I'm just going to pour the things out. Kind of worked. Poured out the marbles first. Oops, wait. I think there was a marble at the bottom. Yes, there was. Wait. I have to rescue a marble from the rice. There it is. Okay, yay. All right, so let's find out how much this graduated cylinder weighed. So this is the one that was 40.0 grams to begin with. So if the graduated cylinder alone weighs 40 grams and everything together weighed 120, doing the math, 120 minus 40, right, equals, what does it equal? You're right, 80. How'd you know? Because you did the math. Yay. Okay, now I'm making a mess right there. So the answer, what we need to write down here is 80. 80 grams is our answer. So now the question is, do our results make sense? So one thing that we want to look at perhaps is, does it make sense that when we added together 39.5 grams of rice to 40.5 grams of marbles, does it make sense that we ended up with 80 grams of rice and marbles? Yes, of course that makes sense because we just added them together. Okay, cool, whatever. But does this make sense? 46 milliliters of rice plus 47 milliliters of marbles. Somehow when you add that together, you get 89 milliliters. But if all I did was add this up, 6 and 7, that'd be 13. Carry the 1, 13. 4 plus 4 is 8, plus the 1 is 9. Wait, 93. 93. Your prediction right here may have been 93. Now, it doesn't have to be. It could have been very different. I tried to make that a parenthesis, but it looks really weird. So, there. Okay, so maybe your answer there was 93. It doesn't have to be, though. It could be totally different. Don't worry about it. I'm just saying, my logically thinking here, that should be 93, right? But it wasn't. We add together that volume, and we get 89. So we're missing 4 milliliters somewhere, right? Huh. Well, to figure this out, let's try one more thing. Let's mix them together in a different order. To do part 2, what you want to do in your notebook is have another place to record this. So literally right below all this, you could like draw a little line and say like part 2 or something like that. But then you want to repeat this, the rice, the marbles, the predicted though, that's going to change. This time we're going to mix the rice into the marbles, right? So you still want a row for rice, a row for marbles, a row for predicted, but this time write rice to marbles, and write actual, again, rice to marbles. Okay, so you're repeating all of that. So I'm not going to do all of that here. I am going to make some notes though. I'll just write down my numbers here, but please do it the whole way for you. I'm just trying to save a little bit of time here. So I'm using the same exact rice and marbles and the same exact graduated cylinders and everything, but still we want to do it again, because who knows, maybe I just swapped the graduated cylinders and who knows what might happen. So I'm going to start off with graduated cylinder on here. And this one is the one that's 40.3. Let me press tare. I'm adding the rice in here. Should be the same measurement, right? And let's see. So the rice we're starting off with is mass in grams. That's funny. 39.6. And there it was 39.5. I actually have an explanation for that, because the longer it sits out here in the air, it's actually absorbing moisture from the air. Just saying. So there is a very good reason why that might be different. So the measurement for the rice was 39.6. Again, I'm just kind of writing this down small down here, just so that way I know in my head, because otherwise I'm going to forget. So that was rice. Let's do the marbles. So put that on. Again, press tare to 0 it. Okay, and here come the marbles. So the mass of the marbles. Hopefully the marbles aren't absorbing any moisture from the air. That should not make any sense. 40.5. Whoa! Yay, it worked out. We just need to do our volume. Volume should be the same, right? Well, let's see. So we've got rice volume at 46. Is that what we had before? Okay, yay. So that number's the same. Yippee. And the marbles, I'm gonna say it's right before 47. So, okay, it's the same. Yay. Okay, we'll just say that it's the same. So we got the 46 and the 47 there. Okay, now do the thing like before where you are making notes of what does it look like. Probably the same thing as you wrote before though, right? Okay, so you're doing that, but down here. Okay, now don't forget you've got your prediction. Now the only difference now is the order we're going to do, right? This time we're going to pour the rice into the marbles. So how is that going to change things? So the rice into the marbles this time. By the way, so I do remember now that this is the one that is 40 grams as far as the weight of the graduated cylinder. So we should be able to get a accurate measurement right away from this time. Okay, so are we ready? Did you have your predictions made? Here we go. Rice being poured into the marbles. Here we go. Let's see what happens. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. I am trying not to make a mess. I am delighted that I did not make a mess all over my floor. Okay, so that's what it looks like all in there. Can you see the volume this time? Looks like we're just shy of 70. Let's see, it looks like it's right about 68, in fact, is what I would say. So the combined, maybe I'll write it here in green. So this time the actual volume combined, I'm going to put it up here, was 68 this time. What? 68 was our combined volume when we did rice to marbles. So the green is the rice into marbles. Okay? Then, and again, please don't make your chart so messy. I just don't have enough room to do it nice, so I'm like making a mess and getting worse. Just do it the right way, please, please. Don't do what I do. Do what I tell you to do, right? You know that. All right. So let's find out, though, how much this weighs. And remember, this is the graduate cylinder that weighs 40 to start. So here is the combined total. Okay, wait. Okay, it's at 120. It had stopped at 119.9, and I was like, what's going on here? But now it stopped at 120. Okay, so 120.0 grams, which means, oh, we can probably remember that was the same as before, right? So it came out right, that there is 80 grams. That came out the same. There's 80 grams total when we just look at the mass. But why did the volume come out different? This time we were missing, right, the first round, we were missing like 4 milliliters of volume. This time we're missing tons of volume here because, you know, we had the 46 and the 47. You add that together and you get the 93. But it only came up to 68 this time. Why? Now here's the thing, my friends. You can see why, right? But here's the point. This might not be all that impressive because you could see the space in the marbles. You can see that the rice filled in the spaces between the marbles, right? But what if this wasn't rice and marbles? What if this was something totally different? What if these were 2 different chemical compounds of some sort? By the way, water is a chemical compound, right? So I just mean any kind of combination of elements at all whatsoever. But let's imagine that the particles of that, whatever it is that we're talking about, is way too small to see. So we couldn't actually see this happening. But wait, we just saw this evidence that tells us that there's actually spaces in between these particles, right? The marbles themselves had huge spaces in between them. So if the marbles were representing some other kind of, like I say, chemical compound, just some liquid, I don't know, open up your cupboard, whatever's in there, some vinegar or something, or some oils or water or something. And then if we mix that with something else, if we have this same thing happen again, if we have this whole missing volume thing happen, maybe we could have an explanation for it. So here's what's going to happen. Part 2 is coming on another day. Part 2 is going to involve mixing together 2 other kinds of matter, not rice, not marbles, but something else. But what you just learned, what you just saw here, you have to keep it in mind because we need to apply it to the next thing that we do. All right, so until then, be thinking about rice and marbles until you have something much better to think about, which you will in just a couple of days.